Is the infatuation with news a ruse to boost ad revenue? Will the battle to be a safe company lead to the end of some brands as we know it? Can a trifecta of creativity, data, and design save corporate multinationals? We'll dive into these topics and more on the Business Management Podcast at the intersection of marketing, technology, media, and pop culture. We call it Disruptive FM. Roll the title.
It's Disruptive FM. Disruptive FM. Disruptive FM. Welcome to Disruptive FM, where business and culture collide. Sponsored by Microsoft and Branding Strategy Insider. With your host, Jeffrey Colon.
Okay, here we go.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Disruptive FM, episode 56. I'm Jeffrey Colon, head of brand studio for Microsoft Advertising, about to dissect 3 trending topics and talk to Ray Page, executive vice president at WE Communications, about the trifecta model to design your business around. So let's get to it. 3 hot and fresh trends coming at you.
Here are this week's trending topics. No news.
Facebook is going to monetize the news. That's right. Just like Apple, Google, and Microsoft, the company plans to have a news tab or a news app with reputable journalist sources that will allow for users to see news from various publications and thus never need to leave the platform. But let's be honest, this is a move to monetize you once again. Because on that news feed, you will be advertised to, and thus become the product once again as brands try to reach you as you read about a 10,000-foot giant squid found in the bottom of the Loch Ness. This news should be met with skepticism. Think about it. I can sign up as a politician on the platform and push false messages, and yet publishers are being told this is a great way to get traffic? The jig is up. First, Facebook told everybody to pivot to video and killed journalism. And now they think a newsfeed tab will save it. We know this isn't a what come on segment, but really, what? Come on.
Trending topics on DFM. The battle for beige.
In the 1990s, while grunge and hip-hop were huge along with the fashion those movements prompted, people forget about another short-lived music movement. Around 1996, there was a return of swing. It was so big that even Gap cashed in on it, using a swing song to sell ugly beige khakis. Beige is benign. It's safe, like the color of a computer monitor from the same era. It's what you paint a room when you don't want to really stand out. But now brands are trying to actually become more beige and be like those boring pleated khakis non-creative types wear. No offense to those with that fashion sense, but what we're stating here is an analogy. Who stands out more? The person with a unique set of jeans or someone who is wearing the beige khakis? And yet companies are paying millions of dollars a year to be boring, to be beige, to be the middle, to be average. Take a look at any airline app. They all look and act the same. There is no differentiation. They are the boring set of beige khakis. This is leading to a world where we all aim for the middle. It reminds me of an old quote that maybe a few listeners will be inspired by. The person who follows the crowd will usually go no further than the crowd. The person who walks alone is likely to find himself in places no one has ever seen before.
Trending topics on DFM. The trifecta.
Every company talks about things like data. Not many talk about creativity. In fact, many don't talk about it enough. But one person is making creativity a priority again. In fact, he believes the design of teams is antiquated because creativity is nowhere to be found. It's not factored into teams. It's not added to organizations. In fact, it's ignored as companies race to be beige, as we noted in our second segment earlier. But our next guest wants us to pay attention to creativity. In fact, he believes in the trifecta of creativity, data, and design are going to help many brands who have been pretty slow to change. Ray Page is Executive Vice President at WE Communications, and he works at the intersection of design, data, and creativity. A lot like this show. Ray joined me recently live at Seattle Interactive Conference a few weeks ago to talk about the trifecta movement and how this can help companies get ahead in a world where data seems to outflank creativity. Let's check it out.
In the presentation that I just gave here at SICK, one example in that trifecta model is the considerations around the creative role. Someone who understands big ideas, big campaigns, but also how to translate them faithfully in channels of social and digital and tech, and then team that person up with, say, a front-end coder or prototyper, because we live in a world of motion. Everything needs to move. Our ideas need to move. We need to feel them. That third leg of the wheel is a content strategist who understands channels and channel strategy and thinking about if they respond to this piece of content, then what happens next? What do we serve this consumer up next? If you think about those disciplines in that team construct, you're probably going to think, maybe we develop some sort of AI tool for a big brand that has a customer experience associated to it. You switch out one of those roles, say you switch out the content strategist with a social strategist, you're going to create a digital ideation platform with a strategy where content is going to fly and move through social. So I've always been fascinated about the switching out of some of those roles directly impacts what you're going to make, right? So what that starts to do is you start having different conversations around individuals. You start having larger conversations around, here's the experience that we want to make for this brand. This is the team that you need.
All good things come in threes. Ray Page, Executive Vice President at WE Communications, on the trifecta model for business team design.
It's Disruptive FM
Communications,
the business culture podcast.
They say if you listen closely, you can hear the sound of today.
Hey, it's Disruptive FM, the culture of business. I'm Jeffrey Colon. Hope you're having a great week. We would love to connect with you. You can follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Disruptive FM. And connect with me personally on Twitter and Instagram at DJGEOFFE. Big shout out to our sponsor partners, Microsoft Advertising, Intelligent Connections. Create smarter customer journeys in the era of customer-centric marketing. Learn more at microsoftadvertising.ai. Also, check out the Insights with Microsoft daily podcast today. You can find it on Amazon Alexa and Google Assistant, or subscribe to it on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Spotify. Give them 2 minutes daily. Insights with Microsoft will give you the must-need marketing insights. Insights with Microsoft, marketing intelligence at the intersection of ad technology and consumer behavior. And Branding Strategy Insider. Branding Strategy Insider serves 50,000 plus senior level marketers, CMOs, and business decision makers daily, and is distributed by partners such as The Washington Post, Wall Street Journal, Google News, and Forbes. Branding Strategy Insider is the leading resource for thought leadership in brand strategy and brand management. Learn more at brandingstrategyinsider.com. And Iographer. Iographer creates accessories for your mobile devices to help you make better videos. Their cases allow you to attach filmmaking accessories like microphones, tripods, and lenses, and help you to stabilize your video and look like a pro. And they won't bust your budget either. We use them on a lot of our videos for Disruptive FM. Learn more at iographer.com. In the background, music from Splancnic. It's a track called Say Ooh. It's on the Hood Harmony EP, out now on Just Move Records. If you like what you hear, we'll post a link to this track in our episode description so you can check it out on Spotify.
Disruptive FM presents...
Stop! It's the motherfucking remix!
Everything is a remix.
This past week, Taylor Lorenz of the New York Times wrote about the phrase, "Okay, boomer." It's a way for Generation Z to lay the smackdown on old people on the internet who hate new ideas. But is it new? I like this piece and encourage everyone to read it. However, I think what's missing is that Generation X pretty much laid the smackdown on boomers all through the 1990s, with films like Slacker, Reality Bites, and badges of honor like Loser and Get High and Watch TV slogans. What is missing from this analysis of Generation Z is that Generation X, the generation that made the slogan "God is dead" famous, had laid the groundwork for all this "okay, boomer" entrepreneurism. How? Well, because we were constantly ignored, we became curators, cherry-picking the best of the world. We reveled in all things eclectic, toyed with authenticity, and framed it all in irony. Just look at Quentin Tarantino. There was nothing new about Tarantino's films, and yet cinema had never seen anything like them. Just listen to hip-hop, a thoroughly modern collage of older musical forms. In fact, hip-hop is a prime example of the generation at its best. Less a musical revolution than one of technology. Maybe we didn't create much in the way of new cultural content, but maybe we went one better. After all, we created a whole new cultural space for the production, distribution, and consumption of that content, including these OK Boomer t-shirts. It's called the internet. Now, I'm not suggesting that Generation X invented the internet. We didn't. Nor are we its natural heirs, which is a benefit bestowed on our successors. We were, however, the brave foot soldiers in the forgotten years before victory was inevitable. Look at it this way. It wasn't the baby boomers nor those young look-at-me participation trophy gatherers from Generation Y who tried to download movie clips over a 9600 BPS connection. It was us. And it took hours and the connection kept dropping and the clip was pixelated to incoherence. But we kept the faith. The internet wasn't of our making, but it made us. And now a millennial journalist is shunning our influence and saying Gen Z is doing it all themselves. But hey, we're cool with that. Because we, the slackers in our McJobs, became self-employed entrepreneurs, slaving 80-hour weeks for the noble goal that one day everyone might have access to affordable music so they didn't have to buy the $17 compact disc with one good song on it. Faced with new and difficult career circumstances, but armed with new and difficult tools, we adapted and became the verb enterprising. So call Gen Z entrepreneurial. Just don't call it original. Because, and shout it with me from the back now, everything is a remix. Okay, here are a few stories that are starting to create some buzz. We think you might want to pay closer attention. It's a segment we call On the Radar.
Here's what's on our radar. Number 1.
Many of America's biggest industries are in the midst of a digital makeover needed to survive in an automated world. A diverse group of workers will have to absorb a completely new set of skills or risk becoming extraneous to their employers' needs. Preparing a workforce to thrive in an automated world means companies must retrain or replace tens of millions of mid-career workers. The danger for workers? Companies that choose people rather than invest in retraining.
Number 2.
Warner Media unveiled its plan for HBO Max, its streaming service set to launch in May 2020. And it won't come cheap. The monthly fee has been set at $14.99, which makes it considerably more expensive than other recently announced streaming options like Disney Plus at $6.99 and Apple TV Plus at $4.99. And of course, as we predicted here on our special Advertising Week New York episode of DFM, there will be an ad-supported tier of HBO Max that will arrive in 2021, but the price for that has yet to be announced. What content will live on HBO Max? 10,000 hours of content, including 31 original series in 2020 alone, plus a library of some 1,800 film titles, including every DC Comics production up to and including this year's Joker. Also on tap, all 236 episodes of Friends.
Number 3.
The adage that you need to taste failure before you can truly succeed in your career is gaining credence. Decade-long research from Northwestern University found that workers who had early career stumbles were more likely to be stronger than those who hadn't experienced a setback. Another reason to get rid of those participation trophies. It's not just survival of the fittest, the study found. Rather, an improved performance is causally linked to the near-miss event itself. All right, that's another wrap for us here at DFM, episode 56. Special thanks to our guest, Ray Page of WE Communications. Next week, we're joined by Emmanuel Probst, author of the book Brand Hacks. And coming up on future episodes, Melissa Yarena on what to look for when hiring marketers. And David Epstein, author of the book Range. Plus Robert Schiller, Yale University professor and author of the must-read book Narrative Economics. There are a lot of podcasts out there, and we truly appreciate you taking the time to check us out. Please help us grow by rating, reviewing, and subscribing to this show. We're on all the major podcast services: Spotify, Apple, Google, Spreaker, Stitcher, YouTube, iHeartRadio, SoundCloud, and Pandora. Once again, the socials, Twitter and Instagram, @DisruptiveFM. And check out cool content from our sponsors at MicrosoftAdvertising.ai, BrandingStrategyInsider.com, and iographer.com. Until next time, from everyone here at DFM, I'm Jeffrey Cologne. We'll catch you next week.
You've been listening to Disruptive FM with Microsoft Communications designer Jeffrey Cologne. All thoughts are his own. Disruptive FM is produced in Los Angeles by Feeler Media.